My first business, I built an igloo made out of snow on top of a ski bar on top of a mountain in St. Moritz, Switzerland. And literally at the very top of a mountain, people would ski to my bar. And so I had a bar for ski season until it melted. After that, my dad who also was a lecturer at Purdue University, taught himself how to program and started writing software for engineers and became one of the first value-added resellers for Apple. And in 1981, he wanted to open up a computer retail store, and we did it together. We built one of the very first computer retail stores in the country. The store was outside of Chicago, and they had regional sales offices. I became really good friends with these guys. I mean, not only work acquaintances, but, we became friends and went out afterwards. And one of the guys ended up being transferred to the main office in Cupertino. A job opened up to become the dealer expert for the Apple II division. And at that time, there were very few people who truly understood what the dealer world was. And so he called me up and he asked me to interview for this job. I was originally hired to be in sales, to be the expert for the Apple II division for the dealers channel. So my job was to help the company understand how to communicate and work with their dealers. 3 days after I got there, they reorged. Large companies do that a lot. Oftentimes they'll have a reorganization. And my boss came into my office 3 days later and said, guess what? We had a reorg. You have a new boss and a new job. You're now in the marketing department instead of sales. And you're responsible for introducing a brand new computer, which was called the Apple IIc. And so I was very well qualified to be the dealer expert, because that's where I had spent the last couple of years. I knew that world very well. I was completely unqualified. I had no marketing background. I had no idea what I was doing. And then he just threw me into the lion's den, and I became the introduction manager for the new computer, for the Apple IIc. It's understanding what the need in the marketplace is. So obviously you're trying to solve some problem that's not being solved. And so you have to have great domain expertise. You have to have a lot of empathy for the customer, whoever the customer may be. Mm-hmm. And you have to figure out how to solve a problem that has a sense of urgency around it. And then you got to go build a team. And for me, I've been mostly in the software business, so that meant I had to go hire a programmer or partner with a programmer to build the code and write the program. And then I had to figure out fundraising. I had to figure out sales and marketing and distribution channels and hiring. Starting a business is incredibly complex. By making a mistake and not being a very good venture capitalist. A friend of mine is the CEO of Redbox, and he came to me and said, I have this great idea for a new business. He told me the idea for Redbox. Here's the idea. I'm going to spend a lot of money to build one kiosk. And then I'm going to spend even more money to fill that kiosk full of movies. And I'm going to stick that kiosk in a grocery store where no one has ever rented a movie before. And oh yeah, I got to hire a whole army of people because somebody has to go to the kiosk every single week and take out the old movies and put in the new movies. So the supply chain and the logistics were daunting. And here's the best part. We're only going to charge $1. So I said, I passed. I said, that's a dumb idea. No one's ever going to do that. And of course, I was wrong. I think one of the most important skills that an entrepreneur has is empathy. And empathy, putting yourself in the other person's shoes and understanding what they're going through. And so whether it's a customer or it's a strategic partner or it's an employee, empathy is a key skill. I think one of the best qualities of an entrepreneur is optimism and a belief that even under difficult times and difficult circumstances, you fundamentally believe in yourself. And once again, you got to separate out ego. It has to be tempered by humility, but it has to be fueled by optimism. Wow, that's a great question. It's really hard to know. Madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And sometimes, my analogy is the bank robber who's at the vault and turning the knobs until you hear click. You go, figured it out. And sometimes entrepreneurs have to fiddle with it, fiddle with the product, the service, the pricing, distribution, until you get it right, and then drive. And sometimes it takes a couple of years to figure it all out, and sometimes you never do. And so, when do you know? I think ultimately it boils down to customer acquisition again. Is at the end of the day, if you're building a product or a service that your customers love, that's half the battle. And then if you could figure out the right way to sell it, and if you could figure out both sides of that equation, then it's worth the effort to keep on fighting. Surround yourself with people that you trust. So what that means is both build a board of directors with people who have lots of experience, who are willing to give back, and hire well. So no matter how strong the entrepreneur is, ultimately it takes a team to succeed. And where a lot of times I've seen entrepreneurs fail is in their ability to hire well. And hiring is everything.